Hello everybody on YouTube, thank you so much for joining me here in Nimbus Gaming. My name is Kobe. Hope everyone's having a wonderful day. And firstly, before we get into the video, I want to say thank you guys for all the support on all my previous videos. Thank you guys for leaving likes and subscribing and all that stuff. I really do appreciate it. So, as you guys see from today's title and thumbnail, today we'll be going over Mesa Prime. And this is due to a request I had in my comments. Well, I was going to be working on Mesa Prime still. However, the comment made me want to get this out faster so you guys can see my build. So today we'll be going over well, not necessarily a survival build. However, this is a somewhat of a tanky build. Somewhat, I should say, just somewhat, not necessarily diving into the whole tank aspect. And it's a bit unique in the way I run certain things. But similar to some Mesa builds, however, it's just a little bit unique. I've had my own spin on it. So without further ado, let's go to the arsenal and check out the builds. So now we're taking a look at Mesa's passive and her abilities. Her passive is pretty simple. She gets 15% more fire rate on dual-wheel pistols or sidearms. And when it comes on to single-handed pistols or sidearms or secondary weapons, she gets 25% reload speed. And she also gains bonus health whenever she's not using any melee weapon. So once a melee weapon isn't equipped, she gets 50 bonus health, which isn't necessarily needed or necessary at all. I'm not even really too versed on that part of the passive. So yeah, so now actually going into the abilities. With the one, we currently have it helmet with Nourish. We'll get into that further down in the build. We've got Shooting Gallery. Alright, before we skip over Nourish. So everyone knows Nourish. We get it from Grendel's. Grendel's Subsume essentially gives you bonus energy whenever you pick up energy orbs or you're getting energy regen. And also gives you viral damage and viral status effects on your weapons. Moving into the second one, which is Shooting Gallery. This gives your allies a extra damage boost while jamming guns of nearby enemies. Right, and this does piggyback from teammate to teammate, so it won't be on one specific teammate throughout the entire mission. It's a very cool ability, however, I hardly ever use it, if I'm being honest. Shatter Shield, this is one of the best abilities for Mesa, or one of Mesa's best abilities. Well, she only has 4, that's what I'm talking about. So yeah, so what Shatter Shield does, it gives you 95% damage reduction on all projectiles, right? So that's any form of projectiles being shot at you, right? Any bullet damage, any stuff like that. So please keep in mind that this doesn't work for melee attacks. So if a enemy or a butcher of sorts runs up to you and hits you with a melee attack, or if it's a special ability from Eximus, please keep in mind that that will still bypass this. That is not considered to be bullet damage because, as I said, it's projectiles, right? And Mesa's bread and butter, which is her peacemakers. Essentially, she just whips out her dual pistols and starts going to town. Right, so that is pretty much Mesa's abilities. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the helmet. Well, not the helmet. Take a look at the Archon Shards. Alright, so as I said, when it comes on to this build, some of the things you see will be seen on a lot of Mesa builds. However, I do have some things that are slightly different. As for my Archon Shards, I currently have one for a Yellow Tau Forge for parkour velocity, because I like to move fast, I guess. I currently have two blue shards. I currently have 2 Azure Shards, 2 blue Tau Forge Shards for shield capacity, because this is somewhat of a shield tanking build. I could have more shields, but I'm okay with 730. I don't really have any problem staying alive. However, one thing I must say, if you do have the ability to get 3 of these, you could always swap out one of these shield shards, because it doesn't necessarily take away that much from your survivability. So if you want to swap out one of these for either more parkour velocity, or even more casting speed, you could go ahead and swap that out for one of these blue shards. Or, as I said, you could go ahead and put in one more of these topaz shards. And speaking of these topaz shards, what they do is increases secondary critical chance by 1.5% every time you kill an enemy affected with the heat status effect, right? Max is 75% with both of these attached. That is a... So what these do is essentially they give you a up to 75% crit chance per shard once you kill an enemy affected with a heat status, right? So essentially what you want to do is either mod your peacemakers or your regulators for with fire or with heat damage, or you want to outsource that from one of your other weapons or even your sentinel, right? So seeing as I have two of these, I'll have 150% extra crit chance. As I said, you could always run 3 of these. However, 2 is enough for me. I'm not in red crit territory, but I'm getting constant yellows and oranges, or constant oranges once this is stacked up with a few other buffs that I'll go over shortly. So those are my Archon shards. Right, so now looking further into the build, we currently have the Epitaph. This right here is my Epitaph build, and seeing as Sevagoth Prime is coming out in just a few days with the Epitaph Prime, I'd more so recommend that you guys focus on getting that opposed to actually investing in the Epitaph if you haven't already, right? So just wait for the Prime, or if you don't want to, you could just go ahead and get this, right? So as you guys see, it's currently modded for viral and heat, right? So that's viral, heat, and currently when it comes on to the arcane, I have secondary outburst. What this does is swapping to your secondary weapon, which your regulators do count as, or using your fort does count as swapping to secondary weapons. So once you swap into your secondary weapons, all the combo multiplier that you've accumulated on your melee weapon, it gets converted into crit chance, right? So you get 9% per combo consumed for 30 seconds, right? And as you guys can see, this has heat on it. Reason being, this is such a good status spreading weapon, or such a good primer, that all I do is outsource the heat to this weapon only. I'll just go ahead and shoot out a few rounds of these, then swap into my peacemakers to get rid of the enemies, while it's proccing viral as well, because I do have viral proc on this, right? So that's what this is here for. It's pretty much just a primer. So I prime the enemies with viral and heat, wipe them out with my peacemaker, so I'm then able to get the topaz shards stacked up, right? And when it comes on to the melee in question for secondary outburst, we currently have the ceramic dagger. Reason being, this perk right here, gun and blade, it increases your the base damage by 100. It doesn't matter. On primary kill, you get initial 1 combo stacks up to 100, right? Stacks up to 100. Boom, right? So what I do recommend when it comes on to this in particular is to have a great primary weapon, or a primary weapon that can do a lot of damage, even though that's not your focus. You just want to get a bunch of kills early in the mission with your primary weapon to stack this up, to stack up the gun and blade perk on the ceramic dagger, because once that's built up, you'll have that combo permanently. I believe it's maxed out at 7 for me, but I do believe you can get up to 9. However, mine is just at 7 based on the rest of my perks that I've selected, or some of my evolutions. Yeah, so these are my evolutions: 20 initial combo and base crit chance, right? And for the actual build on my ceramic dagger, I currently have a melee influence build, which is focused on electricity and gas, right? Well, you do need electricity to proc melee influence, so it's pretty much just a gas build, right? Which is very fun, if I'm being honest. You could always go viral or go corrosive heat or something along the lines of that. However, I've been really enjoying using the gas build. It's really fun, right? And also going into the companion, we currently have the Diriga, or Diriga, any way how you pronounce it, with Arc Coil for priming. We have Tenacious Bond for added crit damage. We have Manifold Bond just to ensure that we're getting Arc Coil proc as much as possible. Synth Deconstruct so we can get a lot more energy or a lot more health orbs to then convert into energy orbs using equilibrium, vacuum, guardian. So whenever if my shields ever break, my sentinel will just go ahead and replenish them. Electro pulse, assault mode, animal instincts, and crime regen. And you guys do see that this is a zero forma build. You guys can invest highly or more into the Doriga to get it of a higher standard. It's just that I don't necessarily rely on my sentinels much, so I don't necessarily go ahead and invest into them all that much. Right, and the weapon to get Tenacious Bond to proc to get the added crit damage would be either the Volclock or the Volcax. Right, and this is the build on here. It's nothing too crazy. As long as you have a lot of crit chance, you're good. Right, and now going into the actual Regulators build. Right, so this right here is the build for my Regulators. As you guys can see, it is a corrosive build. We are currently running Galvanized Diffusion for the multi-shot, Galvanized Shot for added crit chance, well, added status chance. And I know you're saying, Kobe, it's only a status chance of 18%. What's the point? But I beg to differ. The fact that this weapon is limitless, meaning you don't have to reload, and it has such high fire rate, based on the modding, it has such great fire rate, the amount of rounds that you put out, you'll be proccing statuses a lot more than you think. Right? Now we have Prime Convulsion. You could use normal Convulsion if you don't have it, or you could even use one of the 60/60 mods. I believe it's called Jolt. Yeah, you could use Jolt if you don't have that. You could use an anemic agility for the fire rate, and don't pay attention to the minus 15% damage. However, if you are wary of that and you don't want to sacrifice any of your damage, which doesn't really matter because the fire rate makes up for it because you're putting out so much hits, the 15% damage that you lose doesn't really make a difference. And as I said, if you do want to remove this, you could always switch it out for Gunslinger, which is another mod for fire rate. However, it's just not as good. You get 72 opposed to 90%. Prime Target Cracker for extra crit damage. Little Torrent for more fire rate and multi-shot. Pistol Gambit for crit chance. And Pathogen rounds. Right? And that's the Regulators build. Right, so now let's go ahead and give you guys a little run of what you'd normally do in a mission to get everything rolling. Alright, so as you guys can see, I currently have two X combo. I currently have 2X combo on my Ceramic Dagger. Excuse me. I currently have 2X on my... Right? So all we do is just kill a few enemies. Right? And now we're at 3. But let's get some more out. Currently have 20 level 150 heavy gunners currently here. Steel Path with the Steel Path modifiers on. So what we'll be doing is showing you guys exactly how everything works. As I said, we have Tenacious Bond active. We have the Topaz Archon Shards built up. A few stacks on, well, Mold Augmented is built up as well. So what we'll do is go ahead and cast Nourish. And then Regulators. Right? And boom. Let's get these guys out once more. There we go. Right, and as you guys can see, it rips through the enemies even without having 3 of the Topaz Shards, and without having actual red crits. You could always go ahead and get rid of these enemies immediately just the same with orange crits and that great fire rate. And as I said, when it comes on to all the perks that I've built up, we have the Ceramic Dagger, with the permanent 7x combo. You can get this higher if you're using like melee crescendo, or you could even use the Furax Wraith with the special mod that it has. However, that's just not. I currently don't have the Furax Wraith, hence why I'm still using the ceramic dagger. And as I said, we have the epitaph to proc heat, so then kill the enemies and get the stats built up on the topaz shards. And we have the Torrid currently, or as I said, any primary weapon that you're fond of that can kill a bunch of enemies extremely quick. You could go ahead and use that to build up the stacks on your ceramic dagger. So now getting straight into the actual Mesa build. Oh, let me go ahead and show you guys the actual survivability of this. So turn this off. Alright, so to give you guys a demonstration of Shatter Shield doing the 70% damage reduction, the 95% damage reduction. As you can see, I'm not necessarily in any real danger. As you guys can see, my shield didn't even crack, and these are level 150 Steel Path Heavy Gunners. Alright, so now let's go ahead and take a look at the actual build itself. Alright, so currently, there are a few things here that you could go ahead and swap around and move around based on your liking. One thing, or two things that you could go ahead and swap around based on if you want more crit chance. You could go ahead and swap out Growing Power for Combat Discipline, and remove Molt Augmented for Arcane Avenger, so you could go ahead and get the perks of getting added crit damage. Reason why I currently don't have it here is because I don't know, I just prefer to run this. However, you're free to go ahead and swap these out. Just please keep in mind that when you're using Combat Discipline, for every enemy that you kill, you'll be losing health. So keep it at a lower rank, like a rank 1, so that every time you kill an enemy, only one actual health point gets deducted, right? So once that one health point reducts, you'll get the proc for Arcane Avenger, giving you that crit chance. So just please keep that in mind, and please pay attention to your health. Well, then again, you're running Equilibrium, so you should be fine when it comes on to health and energy sustain, right? So going further into the build, we currently have Mesa Waltz in the Exilus, which essentially just gives you the opportunity to roll around, move around whilst in her Peacemakers, seeing that normally it just keeps you stuck or rooted in ground. We currently have Prime Flow for the extra energy reserves, adaptation, due to the fact that it stacks with her 3, giving you added damage reduction, as well as the fact that it does affect shields as well. The higher shield number benefits highly from that as well. We currently have Precision Intensify and Blind Rage for strength, Blind Rage for every ability, and Precision Intensify for the Peacemakers itself. What you could do is you could always remove Precision Intensify and replace that with Umbral Intensify for bonus strength on all of your abilities, opposed to just the 4th. However, putting this on gives you an actual higher multiplier on your damage multiplier. With Umbral Intensify and this setup, it will be about like, before Augmented is stacked up, it'll be like 3 something, 3.6, but right now it's 4.34. For the efficiency, seeing as I am running Blind Rage, I'll have negative efficiency. So to slightly counteract that, I have Streamline, which is not necessary because I don't really have energy problems with this build without Streamline. It's just, I just prefer to have it there because it's, you know, it's a little bit more safe. Because if you're leaning heavily into using the Peacemakers, then if you're running out of energy, then you're in trouble. As I said, we have Equilibrium here, which works perfectly with Scent Fiber on the Worm Prime. Blind Rage, again, we have Auto Message and Prime Continuity for the duration, which essentially is just for both Nourish and her 3, which is Shatter Shield, which by some stroke of luck, they both have the exact same timer. So whenever one's down, you can just recast both of them, boom, at it again. And as I said, when it comes on to the Arcane Avenger build, you can just go ahead and swap it out for this right here. Put in combat discipline, and you'd really want back either Unblow Intensify or Precision Intensify to get that added strength back. Right? So this right here is my Mesa build. I hope you guys test it out and try it. And if you try it, let me know. And if you like it, let me know. So thank you guys so much for thank you guys so much for joining me today at Nimbus Gaming. Again, my name is Kobe. I want to say thank you once more for all the support you guys have been showing on all the previous videos. More videos are coming soon. Stay tuned, subscribe, like the video, and have a wonderful day. Peace.